So we just arrived at the ancient city of Norba in the old area of Latium. Now this was actually part of the kind of Latin League who fought against the Etruscan Romans a few hundred years BC. But even though the walls here are said to be Roman walls, they're clearly much earlier, and this is part of an ancient megalithic polygonal complex. We still don't know who really built it, but one of the interesting features about this particular site is the fact that we have almost like a round tower similar to what we find in Sardinia, i.e. the Nuraghes. So let's get in there and have a look. We're not really looking at the Roman stuff, even though we know it was a famous Roman site and it was used by various different cultures. It's the earlier polygonal megalithic stuff we want to be looking at. So let's get in and take a look. So you can see the mighty polygonal megalithic wall here. And this is the sort of 12-foot, sort of 12-meter wide entrance with the round tower, or kind of round tower on the right there. And this Porta Maggiore is the name given to it. So we're just down the eastern side of the kind of round tower here at Norba. You can see this is huge, the huge megalithic blocks, and it kind of continues in this wall even right around here as well, which we're going to have a quick look at. So it's almost not really a round tower in its own right. It's got these extra parts here. This looks like it's collapsed, but you can see the massive polygonal blocks that even make up this part, which connects kind of via this wall to the main round tower over here. But let's just take a walk around it just to get a sense of scale and a sense of the size of this thing, because this is really quite impressive. And you know, we know the Roman didn't really build in this style, so this is really interesting. So you've got very large stones at the base here. They just kind of get bigger the further you go up almost. Absolutely amazing. So right behind me is the famous kind of curved wall, almost like Nuraghe Tower, like we find in Sardinia. This is at least 30 or 40 feet high, and it continues around the corner, so it's almost like a curved kind of entrance, part of the gate into the main site here. But it is very similar to the Nuraghe Tower, so we have to question, were these the same people who built this site, as in, you know, Norba and many of the other sites in Italy, as in Sardinia? Seems like it could be the case, although these could be much older. But I'm just fascinated by this because this is a huge site, and we saw around the edge that there's polygonal megalithic walls even going down the cliff, and there's like 2.5 kilometers, about 1.5 miles of, you know, the whole site, the circuit around the site. And so this is just a fine example of what we see here in ancient Italy, here at Norba, which is just next to the town of Norma, just to be confusing. So if you Google it and you need to find it, you type in Norma and it's easily signposted. There's also a museum we're going to check out, but it's mainly these megalithic polygonal walls that really grab my attention. So let's go in and have a closer look at some of this. So we'll just take a little walk along the wall here, which is just on the eastern side of the site. The western side kind of leads down into the cliff, and you can just see the way the bedrock sort of melts in. But let's go up here a sec. JJ looks like she spotted something. Even up there you can see more polygonal walls. And my God, look at this. This is just absolutely amazing. This is like something you see just around Cuzco. Stunning. We have an entrance way here. It's like one of the ways in to the actual temple. Just get a sense of scale. You can see JJ climbing up into this, one of the entrances to the city. This is the eastern entrance, and it is quite amazing. I mean, I'm just kind of exclaiming how much I love this site in lots of different words, but this is actually one of the images, one of the old illustrations, and there's an old photo of this particular wall. You can see it goes all the way up. It's all been blocked off now, obviously, but that is quite impressive. The massive lintels as well, and huge blocks along the side. You can see out the entrance there. There's water dripping down like we find in long barrows. It's limestone. It's really big spiders' webs everywhere. Let's just head out the entrance here. So it looks like some kind of protrusion is down there, like we find in Peru, but it is kind of blending with the bedrock. These really are very big stones. You see those all the way up here. So we just walked up the hill, through the main gate, about 150 yards, and we found this. So this is like some kind of interesting, almost like a room, you could put it simply, with polygonal walls. Now these aren't as big as the outer walls, obviously, but they are the same design. So is this part of the ancient complex that the possible Pelasgians built, or was this a later construction by potentially the Etruscans or the Romans? Very interesting anyway. So this is a big site, we're gonna look as much as we can, like 2.5 kilometer circuit, but we're really mainly here to look for these kind of megalithic mega walls. This doesn't quite match what we're looking for, so we'll continue our journey, but we'll give you some highlights, hopefully some insights, as we continue around the ancient site of Norba. So here we have like a polygonal pathway heading up into the main temple site. This is a quote from Louisa Caroline Tuthill from the History of Architecture, 1848. I'll read this to you because this is very, very interesting. Ages before the Romans existed, the fair land of Italy was inhabited by nations who have left indestructible monuments as the only records of their history. Those wonderful cities of early Italy, which have been termed Cyclopean, are thickly scattered throughout certain districts and are often perched like eagles' nests on the very crests of mountains, at such elevation as to strike amazement into the traveller who now visits them, and to bewilder him with speculations as to the state of society which would have driven men to such scarcely accessible spots for habitation, and to entrench themselves therein with such stupendous fortifications. So we're continuing along the polygonal pathway here at Norba, and just a little bit further down we're kind of heading west out towards the kind of cliff face, but already just down there I can see more classic polygonal walls. This is why we're here really, so let's go and take a look at them and get some shots, get some nice film footage, see what we can make of all this really. I mean, I find it interesting that there was this ancient civilization, all the tribes of this area who potentially built these sites got together against the early Romans, who were partly Etruscan, and kind of went to war with them. You know, in this special league they created, and this was a few hundred BC, probably 600-700 BC. And so the fact that you've got these walls here does suggest this earlier culture may have built them, but then again, that's only 600 or 700 BC. So potentially, you know, with some of the dating that's come out in places like Italy, in Greece and other Mediterranean countries, we are finding this polygonal style, maybe actually much older. So who really did it? The mythical Pelasgians, quite possibly, as we mentioned before. But were they really the Titans? Were they really the giants or the Cyclops? Or were they just simply the Nephilim, like a branch of them who came down from the Bible lands into the Mediterranean and actually created many of these sites we see here today, because they're always attributed to giants. And there are giant accounts here. We have several we feature in the on the TV show. We also mention them in the book. We're going to feature them more in the future, and you can have a look at some of them here. But giant skeletons of the pre-Roman era have been found here. So we have to kind of take this seriously, that this is a genuine phenomena. So we're just heading into the main part of Norba now, and we're just walking along we're just taking a left, and we're just heading in to this raised area which has got polygonal walls around the edge, not huge ones, but they're still polygonal. And we're going to go and see what's up here, because this is like the high point, probably the sacred precinct of the ancient builders here. You can see some of these blocks here, and even larger blocks on this side, suggesting this may have been part of the original construction here at Norba. These are cut out of solid bedrock. Look at these steps. These are absolutely just cut out of the solid rock. Amazing. So we have another square platform and another one over there. Let's go and take a look at this one. This one has polygonal walls around the edge. So we just found this hole in the ground here, and you can actually see in there's actually like construction. It's like megalithic construction actually inside the hole, whatever this is. So this is the top level of this kind of pyramid platform here. There's two of these on top of this huge platform. You can just see some of the platform down here. Just over there is the tops of the polygonal walls, the massive ones on the east side of the main complex. But let's head down here, let's get around the edge of this, because I'm convinced, well, we saw them on the way up, so we know they're there. There were actual walls, massive ones, sort of on the cliff face, kind of holding up the earth here. Let's just keep watching as we go around, not only the walls, but where we actually are stepping. But yeah, this is like Mycenaean style megalithic construction. It's very, very interesting. I believe this is the top of the polygonal walls that are kind of holding up the hill. Now I don't want to go too far over because it's a very deep drop, and you can see the beautiful landscape around here. But this is the tops of the polygonal walls around the edge of Norba.